It's I thank you for agreeing to join us. And then I also have someone I regard as my young sister, Lady Chawe, a very outspoken and articulate young lady, a poet and a young mother, a brand new mother. So you'll hear the baby in the background. How Lady Chawe unjani?
I am tired and I'm tired, but I'm good, guys. Being a new mom is quite the challenge.
You are a mom to a boy. Get used to being tired because uzabusumgijimisa in a few months.
Guys, I'm not ready.
Congratulations on the same. Well, we're also going to be joined by Uchipo,
No, thank you so
also
much.
share her experiences. So without wasting much time, because our earlier trial, I got cut off by Uzesa, and so we're redoing this before we get cut off again. Peshi, can you just share with the audience what kind of arts you are into, what work you are doing within the industry?
I am in the talking business. I talk a lot, and that is what I get paid for. I talk and I write. So what I really do is I do have a show. I talk a lot about women's issues. I write up concept papers and advocate for the safety of women across the board, and not just in the arts industry or the creative industry, but women in Zimbabwe who deserve to be safe. And that is really what I do.
Great. Lady Chawe, what do you do within the arts?
Lady Chawe is a performing artist. She's a curator. She's an author, and recently she became a director. And yeah, so that's pretty much what I do. I advocate using my performance skills so that topics that need to be spoken about or issues that need to have people know about them, I do so using my performing skills. So that's what Lady Chawe is all about.
And how would you describe the manner of your employment? Is it self-employment, informal employment? Are you in a full-time job position? How would you describe it?
It's a bit hard because I work with different people and the working times always differ. But I think I can call myself a freelance artist. So I'm self-employed, to answer the question.
Is it the same?
So I employ myself pretty much.
Mina busingi hamba okule mali. I am a mercenary. I go where the money leads me. That is what I do.
Okay. So then you are not contracted, or you don't have like a full-time contract with anyone. You do your short-term work, get paid, and you move on to the next job.
Yes.
So Peshi, can you tell me how COVID-19 has then affected your work? Because if you're working as per the job, the contracts coming, what happened to that when COVID-19 hit last year, March? Or rather, it hit earlier and then the lockdown. Yeah.
From last year, the industry that we're in, unfortunately, has no long-term plans. Usebenza khonapho, uhole khonapho, imali yakho iphelele khonapho. There are no benefits going forward. There's nothing else. And you go, you do your thing, and that's it. People are done with you. So if you will also know, is that the industry that we're in, the creative sector, our time for working is usually from August to December. That's when we try and raise as much money as we can, so that it tides us over during the dry season. Our dry season is like January to April. So last year, when we were in our dry season, COVID came to our shores. And then in March, kwaba lockdown. So all our excitement for jobs, for trade fair, because the trade fair for the creative industry, was booster. We were also going to be celebrating the 40th Independence Day, and it had been said that it was coming to Bulawayo. It was going to be, so we were expecting April to be a month-long working season for most of us. And then when the announcement was made, just like that, like a light switch, jobs were cancelled or postponed, because no one would say they're cancelled. They were postponed to a later date. There's no warning, there's no payment, there's no nothing. Usuhlezi, akula lutho olulindileyo, akula, you don't even know how long this thing is going to be for. Awula mali oyibekileyo, there is nothing. So personally, I went through a depression because I was so anxious, I was so worried. Uguti, what's going to happen? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to keep the lights on? How am I even just going to leave? Because then the other issue is, wona ngokwawo umkhuhlane wakhona uyesabisa besingakabi kwazi lutho singakathini, and imisebenzi yethu ukuphumula phandle. So now all of a sudden, the one thing that I know, which is working around people, with people, is become something that could potentially kill me, you know? So there was a lot of anxiety. I think it took me maybe a month and a half before then I realized that, okay, so this is maybe the world hitting a reset. I need to either be on board or I am drowning. So then that was then learning new skills, trying to figure out how you can do Zoom like now we are doing, how we can move forward and continue to work, continue to put the word across, continue to have my voice being heard, continue to tell stories of women like myself or other creatives like myself. How do we do that? So it was learning new skills, being patient, trusting the process, and showing up and being consistent. But it was a lot. Unfortunately, for many people, especially the women in the industry, they fell by the wayside on that. And it's a very unforgiving economy. It's a very unforgiving industry. So abanengi, a year later, still have not mastered how to Zoom, still have not mastered how to record themselves. Unje, you're sitting in your house and you're recording a show, which is something that you never used to do before. So those that have not moved with the times, which is the times that we're going to, unfortunately, because it's a year later. Wow. And the world doesn't stop.
You raise very interesting points about how a lot of people have failed to adjust. And I'm just laughing as you're talking that you had to conjure the patience in you. Your name, patience, had to come to life during this period because you had to be very patient.
Impatient, patience, I know.
No, Mashawekazi, how was it for you?
For me, it was almost the same way of emotions, just like what Patience had said, because we're so used to having a certain timeline on when we work within the year, and it's stopping just really rattled me so much that because I was now not sure what to do, and I was pregnant by then. So it was one of those things where I'm anxious about not having work, but I'm also anxious because I'm going to have a baby, and I don't know what's going to happen when it's time to give birth. Will I be able to go to hospital? If I have to stay at home? Not having enough information about COVID at that time last year was really difficult to make any informed decisions and so forth. But when we got into the new normal of having to be at home and having to rely more on technology to try and not only keep in touch with people, but to also generate some form of income and to still keep busy and be relevant within the industry, it took a lot to start learning new skills. And because if you wanted to survive, you needed to learn new skills. You needed to learn things that you normally wouldn't care much about. Like, for example, I wouldn't care much about Zooming and stuff like that because I don't do that. I want to see you face to face, be able to touch you, be able to hear you laugh in the physical than doing it over technology. And it also prompted us to really think outside of the box. How do you create outside the box within this new normal? Is it still feasible to be an actress? You know, because we're now used to going to a theater and having an audience watching you. Is it still feasible to be a poet? How are you able to curate your shows and your life as you were doing before COVID came into the picture? So it was just really looking for interesting ways on how to survive and keep your head above water. And also, I think for me, being a female who was pregnant, it's so easy for people to cancel you out once you get pregnant and once you have a child, because they'll be like, usungu mama, and you can't be declaring on the stage anymore and stuff like that. So for me, it was more of, I need to stay relevant. And if come lockdown or no lockdown, I needed to still stay relevant. And it's been a challenge, but I think I'm not doing so badly.
Right. I want to come back later on to maybe your maternal story, if you don't mind, about how that was in a time of COVID, because I know a lot of women that were pregnant were talking about how getting around was difficult and the anxiety of going into health centers where people were supposedly COVID infected. And yet that's where you were meant to be, to have your child and be checked regularly. So I'll come back to that. But maybe to ask you, what does being locked down for an artist mean? Given that you work around a certain environment, and this is usually a curated environment where you have certain lighting, you have stage managers, you work with a team. Suddenly you are forced to be at home on your own, but you still have to work, and you are a female probably with children, or you're a guardian to some young people or people that look up to you. You need to cook, you need to clean, you have chores, the usual domestic stuff that women have to do. How do you adjust as an artist to that? How do you make your home both a stage for performance and a home for your children as well, or for your family?
Like I said earlier, it's about learning new skill sets, because being locked down for a creative, mentally you go crazy, because a creative is so used to being creative whenever, however. Now, if I'm used to taking a walk at 8 p.m., well, I know I'm stretching it. Now I can't because there's a curfew. If I'm used to just popping up at patient's house and be like, you know what, can I throw some ideas at you? Now I can't, because I need to be stuck at home and we need to observe social distancing. It, I know for a lot of creatives, they felt trapped, because now they feel like they can't create. And that was for a while, until people saw the different possibilities that they could do to continue creating under different circumstances. And to come back to the question of how do you then create a stage in your home, it's hard, man. Like, I'm staying with another human who happens to be my firstborn and my baby, and you have to take care of him and everything. And it's about finding a balance on trying to make things as normal as possible. It's about now looking silly in front of a phone or in front of the laptop or camera, whatever it is you're using, so that you do what you need to do. And it's about trusting that the space, now this is your space, you cannot curate it yourself. And I know other artists who had extra income and extra monies were able to buy equipment to bring into their homes to then make lighting and sound and all those things. But for some of us who couldn't do that, we had to use what we had, and it worked. And it worked.
Working. Chipo, welcome. Thank you for joining us finally. Maybe if I could just bring you in quickly to share with us the kind of artwork you're into. We've started again because of our earlier interruption. What kind of artwork are you into, and how did COVID disrupt that for you?
Hi, hi everyone. I curate events. I've produced one theater show, two, if you like, two of the same thing. And I perform here and there, but looked a lot of things that I had planned for the whole year just had to come to a stop, and now having to adapt to do things virtually, and also virtually means Well, at this point, mostly virtually means tissue. And now you have to find online that people are then getting for free. So that has been the
Right. So I noticed all of you touch on the mental toll it took on all of you, the depression. Patients was, do you feel enough attention was paid to the mental health aspects of people response to COVID after they've been locked down for so long? And as an artist, usually you guys are free spirits, you are creative, you're at your best when you're free and able to interact. How did you handle that mental pressure, the depression you talk about?
I think as a country, we are in a state of some mental meltdown. Thina sisodwa nje la nxa kungaso COVID, izinto zethu azihambi. So automatically we're already traumatized. We're really going through some depression of some sort, but what we tend to do is that we keep it moving. So we like push it back, which is why you'll find people will say creatives are drunkards, they smoke weed, they what. But at times I feel it's like an escape. So then with all that happening in a country that's in a meltdown, so automatically people are worrying about their bread, they're worrying about their rent, they're worrying about this. Not so many people have enough money left over to spend to watch a show, to spend to buy a book, to spend to buy a piece of art. So vele thina singani sisemuva, we are like a bottom of the barrel. So we try and scrape through the bit that we can. Then when something like e-COVID comes in and there's lockdowns, galleries are closed, we can't sell our stuff. And like, think about it, some of these things are not things that can be on Zoom, you know? People like, oh, George can't come onto Zoom and start doing Zoom things. It's not, you have to go there to experience it. I know Utochipo ended up having to do their show, Vagina Monologues Africa, online, but then that is also a lot of effort. So I don't think as a people, we pay enough attention to mental health, not just during this period, but generally. We avoid it. Now, it's something spiritual, it's something this, it's attention seeking. We call it everything else, but what it actually is, which is mental health awareness. I struggled, and I think what did help was that being aware that this is what I'm going through. And if you don't work yourself through it and find some light, because we are chona, it will just get darker and darker and darker. There are many creatives, I think now, who might never bounce back, who at the end of all this, or when the world opens up, will be called alcoholics. They will be called drug addicts. They'll be called so many things because they have failed to cope. And there's been no system to support them and say to them, guys, things are hard. This is how we can support, not from the government, not from the communities, not from anyone, not from us. So people are just dying inside. Walking dead. So everyone is just trying to find an escape. So I think as a people, we generally just don't give enough attention to mental health. We call it by many other names, but the one name that it is, mental health.
Chipo, would you say there's any support that you've been getting as artists? I know government said there was a levy. I'd like to know how much that levy is. Is it easy to access? Is it helpful? And then other sectors as well, like the corporate or private sector. Is there any help for you guys? Got a visit from the president and the first lady. You are the sector that got a bit of attention. So I'm wondering if that paid off at the end of the day.
was the last day of it, the president visit. After that, nothing much. I never, maybe I didn't follow through, maybe nothing really coming out. And then to do with the government grant, no, I can't remember. how much it was supposed to be. Was it like 5? Now I can't remember. It came in batches that like there's some who received and some like you not tell the algorithms to say this is how who doesn't. I do not know, but the corporate world, some of them really came through. But that is managed to do our show online. We had quite a number of, and I think that's around, but the government one, at least 10 people who received them.
Wow, that's quite interesting, if not disappointing. Lady Chawe, I know you're also an entrepreneur doing other things in design and so forth. Peshi, I've seen you sell some stuff on African wear as well. And I'm just asking myself, for a lot of us, arts is about talent, is the kind of industry that our parents would discourage us from going into, because apparently, as an actress or as a singer, it's an extra job. So if it's the extra job or if it's a fallback plan, what does the one who depends on art full-time fall back on? What becomes the side hustle for an artist? Nxa yona i-arts lapha eZimbabwe abaningi abayithatha ngokuthi yiyo i-side hustle isivalekile. What are you guys doing to survive during this time?
You know what, I don't think we can speak for other artists. This may sound a bit rude, but if someone wants to survive, they will survive at all costs. And it's unfortunate that we're in an economy that doesn't quite allow you to be sustained by just being in the arts. There are people who are surviving and are making it big, but our economy, unfortunately, is in such a way that you need to have something else on this, maybe things or something on the side and so forth. I think I'm fortunate enough to be able to create and to get, my peanuts here and there. And I'm also able to do a side hustle that still correlates to my core passion of being a performing artist. And I think it's the same thing for Patience, that we've found a way to link all our interests into one thing to channel money inside. But it's unfortunate that some other artists, now that the country is in lockdown and we can't perform, we can't create, because there's nothing else that they can do. And sometimes because umuntu doesn't want to believe that I should be doing something else. And sometimes maybe they've tried to hustle, but they may not be good at anything else other than just being an artist. So I don't know, it's a tricky one. But for me, it's fortunate that I am able to hustle on the side with things that still speak to who Lady Chawe is.
Peshi, does your side hustles still help? Does it still come in to support you?
I go back to saying you can't be in Zimbabwe, whether you're a civil servant, whether you are a corporate whether you're whatever, and not have a side hustle, guys. There's side hustle. I know people that wake up each morning and wear suits and show up in what. Batwala ma Facebook, batwala ma Tupperware, batwala ma what. Because Zimbabwe has forced us over the years to learn to hustle. So you are not just proud that I'm just doing one thing. So for me, people that have not figured out, over the past year, when people talk about the new normal, people have been talking about different streams of income. And I'm thinking, where have you been all along that you had one stream of income? I know that many people have been having different streams of income. Oh, Noma Shawega's Lady Chawe will go and she will do a poem there, she will sell a book there, she will sell Ndebele Crash over there, she will do this, she will do that. Because that is what the economy has always been. The one time, like I said before, that these performing arts, this creative industry, it less card in the calendar when the money is coming in. And then the other time it's quiet. So you need to be able to support yourself throughout. And as you grow your brand, you need to see what is it that appeals. My way of creating is not the same way with Lady Chawe. I can't make earrings, right? But I can buy earrings from her so that when I go and I'm on Amakosiga's here and I am talking, which is what I do, I'm sitting on a panel, I'm wearing beautiful earrings by Lady Chawe, right? But I am talking. So also this is a way of supporting each other. Oh, those are nice earrings. Oh yeah, that's a brand from Lady Chawe, which is what I feel many creatives fail to tap into, collaborations. Also buy, don't be like, because you are my family, I want for free. Buy them and support, because that is how we are all supporting, with the idea that also if I come up with something tomorrow, she's going to buy and she will support me and put the word out. So for many people, they have failed, like we're saying, to adapt that. Because if you just sit and you wait, now we go to chaya ingungu, akusela ngungu esichayayo, maybe start manufacturing ingungu. I know Mangoma uyachaya ingungu, uyenza ingungu, he does drumming lessons. What else are you doing? The world is changing. As we go back into whatever mode the world will be on, many things are going to change. What have you been doing? How have you been preparing yourself over the past year to be able to snap back and still be known? Abanengi kusisabagcina khonaphana kuthiwa lockdown. Lokho esabagcina ukubezwa lokuthi bayaphila kumbe bayasebenza kumbe bayathini zwi.
People, can you come in there?
Okay, as the conversation was going, like from what Letitia was saying and then Peishi, I just felt like the lockdown exposed us, you know, like who is willing to put in the work. Like we're saying, we are not in a position to live off one salary. We go around calling ourselves hustlers out there. But now it was now at a point where it wasn't about the world anymore. It wasn't about that one show you go to and you take pictures and people see you. Reality struck, and it was now the question of who has really been thinking about their tomorrow beyond I'm an artist, I can do this. And like how do you plan to live through tomorrow? I think it really exposed Wuti. Then what? Yes, everyone is now locked down. Umama Semsigen is locked down. When now artists are locked down, teacher will at least have their salary, but they're still locked down. You still need to eat, artist or not. And so I guess it was just, and the kids had been moved, it was to see who had the thought you would teach. They say, I'll do away. There are festivals around the country. It's just a challenge. Like Pesha saying, abanye sabagcina kunaphana sabagcina, and that was it. Always And it's unfortunate to would now even when the world appreciative to say with the little that I had, we give people a sample of pictures because it's now with the same people keep putting yourself out there.
Wow. Maybe as Peshi and Chipo think about the kind of changes you'd like to see going forward, your appeal maybe to the community, to business, to government. Lady Chawe, can you share with us your journey through birthing ngesikhathi lesi? Was it easy for you? Was the were the health facilities helpful and fully equipped for you during that time? How was it for you giving birth at the time of COVID?
It was scary because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have your typical pregnancy where you've got morning sickness, just like you can ask Chipo and patients. I was everywhere all the time. I was a busybody when I was pregnant, to the point where when we were doing Vajanamon, I was going to rehearsals until they had to actually replace me with someone, just in case my waters broke during rehearsals. And when it came to getting medical care, I think it was okay because I had medical aid, which was able to afford me the opportunity to get, a good gyna and stuff. But also because now there was lockdown, getting money to do the baby preparation, getting money to, Balisa esibhedlela was now a challenge. Unfortunately, our medical aids don't cover that. You now have to fork out money, and prices were changing. That was the unfortunate thing at the hospital. Prices kept changing. So for this, you need to add more money. You need to add more money. So that was now literally a big headache. And the day of delivery, I realized that a lot of things had changed in the hospital setup, because you'd be thinking you're going to a maternity ward, but because of the fact that we're now in COVID, every hospital had to change the way they were doing things. And we had to get tested before being admitted, and you're being tested and you're in labor. So it was one of those scary moments, and everything. But yeah, I was grateful to have gone through such a scenario, because it made me aware of the many challenges that a lot of women go through in Zimbabwe. If you don't have medical aid, you're sometimes pretty much screwed. If you have a complication within your pregnancy and you don't have money right there and then, you go through a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress because you don't know what to do. Unfortunately, when I gave birth, my son had to be admitted again because he had problems. And that's when you realize that the health sector is really not as good as you would want it to be. For someone who doesn't go in and out of hospital, you don't really know much of the things that take place. But overall, the experience was okay-ish, besides the money that was needed, which was quite a lot. And just the struggle of going for your visits to the doctor was difficult, because you now need a letter to go see your doctor, and your doctor is sending you a letter via WhatsApp, and the police are saying, no, we can't take that. You need a physical letter. You can't print it home because you don't have a printer. And there were so many, those small little challenges, and everything. But
wow, thank you for sharing with us your journey.
One of the perks,
yeah.
Thank you. I was saying, one of the perks was being able to go into a supermarket and go right in front of the line, because during lockdown last year, there was always queues. So they would never let a pregnant woman stand in the queue. So that was a perk for me, I think.
God forbid you go into labor in the queue and people have to help you, so they'd rather be done with you quickly. Right, as we wrap up, I'd like each of you to respond to like, what would you like to see happen in the arts for women artists? And maybe first, do you feel like as female artists, you are being hit harder than male artists? And what can change that? So is it the same experience for you and the male artists, or it's different because of the obvious gender, patriarchal, economic dynamics? I'll start with you, Patience, as you wrap up. You're still muted, Peshi.
Okay. I think, like in everything else, women are unfortunately in these societies of ours the ones that bear the brunt of everything, because I could have been raising a bit more money and contributing and being able to put my son through this and and things like that. But then now with all these things, there's nothing that is seeming, I can't even put a date and say maybe on the 31st of February, something will happen, because there's nothing with this pandemic. You don't even know what tomorrow will be like. So I do feel that women are, especially in this sector, have already been struggling. And this has made it even worse, because even Lama resources, Lama internet, even all these things, many women have come forward and said that they can't come online because data is expensive. On the Zoom thing, what Chipo was saying, that the pandemic has exposed, it's an elitist thing, because those that can afford the Wi-Fi, those that can afford the data are the ones that can then come on Amakwesigazi, are the ones that can go on to speaking platforms, are the ones that can show up and do stuff. Then the others who don't have as much resources are stuck in what we would call the doldrums. And then you'll see that in the spaces that we are in, we'll see, I will bring that to you, in the spaces that you talk, in the spaces that you manage to have an audience, you will notice that, meaning that they have more access to resources. And Tina, you are out here thinking, how do I make a loaf of bread last 3 days? How do I make this and that and that and that? So definitely, I do feel that women are at a even more disadvantage than before. What would I like to see? I would like to see more women owning spaces, more women owning theaters, more women owning the stories, more women writing, more women being in charge of the money, more women employing people. It's so sad that in 2021, we still can count on one hand how many women are doing this, how many women are doing that. I would love to see women in the arts, women in the creative sector take key decision-making positions, not just as supports, not just as fronts, not just as edit, where people feel like they're giving you this opportunity and therefore you owe them. I really would love to see more women. Same thing if you say to me in the creative industry, it's the same thing in broadcasting, where I would love to see more women be owners of houses, of news, of radio, TV, all these things. Because media houses, they need to own that. Because so I really wish women own more stuff. We have more equity, we have a voice, we have the money, because that is we have more access to money and resources. So that's what I would love to see going forward, and we're taken seriously.
Thank you, Peshi. Chipo, what are your parting words on this?
Well, Peshi has exhausted everything. But honestly, for me, to add to what she said, we have so much of women being mere mouthpieces. You know, like when you can, it's a woman's voice that is talking, And I remember you will see at some point actually talking about how if we have more women or just everyone aware of the right ethics of reporting, we wouldn't be having stories about a grade 7 girl who was a headline about a grade 7 girl who is pregnant by some 40-year-old, but then it's just like 3 grade 7 girls pregnant, but would have a 47-year-old man raped a girl. So, but then we have so much of, we might have, there are times where you have a woman, okay, and so we have just so many of those, and we have, so I just wish to have to see genuine women's voices, like to feel that this is a woman talking about things that she knows, things that she's been through, that other women can really relate to, so that we can, like, the world can hear women talking, not women saying what other people being men, want to hear.
And of women being affected more than women in the arts, do you feel that's true, or it's affecting, COVID is affecting both males and females the same?
I think I'm always biased on this, that as the art sector, we are always affected the most, but then the women in the art sector are more affected, because like Peshu was saying, we're not in leadership positions. I sit as Vandimali. So umuntu ovandimali will always have the power, which is the man. And so Lati, like, even if the creative sector is already at the last on the food chain, the women are way below that, because we still have men deciding what is important and what is not.
And welcome to the men in the room. Thank you for joining us. Lady Chawe, can you give us your parting shots? Do you feel like you are most affected as women in the arts industry by COVID? And what would you like to see change?
Yes, I believe we are. Mostly because we've never been given the opportunity to be in the driver's seat. And if ever we are, it's like we're learners, so there's always a licensed driver on the side and you can't go anywhere without one, which is quite frustrating, because I believe there are a lot of females within the creative sector who can govern things, who can make decisions, and possibly even help other women, you know, be successful within this industry. And because of COVID, you have to now wait on some person to come and tell you, oh, there's a job, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And if you want to steer ahead something, it's difficult to do so without having a man in the picture, which I think needs to change with time. And it will take me to the last question. What I would like to see change is for men to see that women are just as good. But in order for us to be seen as just as good, we need to prove that we are just as good. There is no point in someone handing you a car if they've never seen you drive, or if they've seen you drive and all you've done is always get into an accident. No one will be able to trust you with that. So also I'd love to see women not always cry about, no, we need to be given certain opportunities and so forth if we don't prove ourselves to be worthy to be in those positions. We need to prove ourselves to be worthy to be in those hallways that make decisions, to be in those caucus meetings that actually offset what takes place within the creative sector, because you deserve it, number one, and number two, because you can work for it and stuff. And I'd love to see more women just taking the risk and not to wait for someone to hand you something. Just to take the bull by its horn and not wait. Because the more we wait, the more we're not going to get it. We're going to become fossils by the time any real change comes if we keep waiting. So yeah, for me, that's one of the biggest changes I want to see within the arts sector, especially when it focuses on females. Yeah.
Wow, ladies, that's been very eye-opening, and I think some food for thought for some of us that are just sitting here enjoying the work that you put in. What you ladies are going through. Thank you so much for coming through to share your stories, for your time, for your resources, and for your expertise that you have shared on the program. And to our audience that tuned in, this has been Women's Voices in a Time of COVID, where today we're talking about the impact of COVID on women that are working in the arts industry. And with me, I had Chipo Mawarire, Patience Piri, and Lady Chawe Unomashawekazi. Thank you so much, ladies. I hope to see you in person next time. Lokho okwaboZulu sesikuxolele mbijana.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you so much for having me.
Auntie Pella, and to the baby, mwah. Mommy, please give him a kiss for us. Thank you for, he's been so
The kiss done.
shocked. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Yes.